beautiful people, it's Jana and I'm back today with yet another video. And today we're going to be taking a look at some of the scariest coincidences caught on camera. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that I've had some coincidences in my life that have happened that have been like almost creepy. So I'm super excited to get into this video. And if you are too, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get right into it.
Small coincidences happen all the time, but it's very rare that these send a chill down your spine. Well, these are some of the scariest coincidences that seem to have been arranged by a higher power.
See, that's the thing with coincidences, is they always have this like weird supernatural feeling to them. It really does have you thinking there's like some sort of god up there.
This one comes from a news broadcast in Minnesota, USA. One day, a guy was reporting on a bank heist that happened the day before. That is when all of a sudden someone runs out of the bank behind him. The man is a worker in the bank and he points over to something in the distance. The guy actually says to the news broadcaster, "There's the bad guy right there."
24 hours ago, this bank in North... That guy right there. What? That's the robber. Oh, that's the robber.
I love how casual this is. Oh, that's the robber? Oh, wow, that's the robber. This is so funny.
This is live TV, folks. That's the robber. Just went by, according to the bank employee. So I gotta go here and call 911. I'll talk to you later.
Love that this man knows what to do. Love that he's about to call the police. But this is honestly so freaking funny. Poor man looks so confused. He's like, I do not get paid enough for this. I just came here to report the crime. Why am I literally in the crime scene? Why am I face to face with the robber? I'm sure this is going to be a very memorable day on the job for him.
The newscaster is completely stunned and goes, "Oh, there's the robber." That's right, the guy who robbed this bank returned to the scene the next day. And at the very same time, the news was doing a broadcast about it. That's already a lot of coincidences right there. The bank teller chases after the guy who hops into a van. But thankfully, because of this, police were able to track this guy down. Police later arrested Ryan Lisco. It turned out he'd robbed the same bank 2 days in a row.
I'm sorry, 2 days in a row? That is very bold. And he got caught on live television? What a way to go down.
Robber Ryan thankfully was sentenced to nearly 10 years behind bars for robbing this bank. And the money he got from the previous bank heists was seized and returned to the rightful owners. When something big happens in an area, the news will often interview locals close to the event. That's exactly what happened one day in Camptown, Pennsylvania, USA. The body was found inside a creek by the local police. As this was happening, some reporters were digging around trying to find out what happened. And that's when one journalist came across a man named Matthew Haverly. He lived right next to the creek where the body was found. When the journalist first asks him about the situation, he's very surprised. He also said even though he lives close to the creek, he had no idea what had happened there.
$10, this guy did it.
I'm like, what the hell's going on? And now I realize that's what they were actually doing.
He also says it's sad to think that's someone's daughter, mother, or child.
It's sad to say that that's someone's either daughter, mother, whatever, both.
But remember that quote. That's because hours later, cops realized that the woman in the creek was in fact Matthew's mother. That makes his comment about the body being someone's mother very, very creepy.
Oh my god, this took a turn that I did not expect. So yeah, he did the crime, but it was his freaking mother. I swear to God, some people are like absolutely crazy. So crazy I can't even like understand it. I wouldn't want to understand this type of behavior.
Matthew said this was a gigantic coincidence. But the police didn't buy it and were very skeptical. Matthew said when he was giving the interview, he had no idea it was his mom who was in the creek. In the interview, he even said the body was probably dumped there by hitmen.
Like a place where people from the city would want to put a body because most likely they wouldn't be found.
In fact, they later arrested him after finding that same blue tarp in his shed. They raided his property and took him to court, and this video was even used as evidence in court. In May of 2019, he was sentenced to 14 years for this. But he still says that he was not behind what happened to his mom in the creek.
Okay, so this man is adamant that this was a coincidence. There is no way you're convincing me that this was just a wild coincidence. He was literally right there, and why would he even give an interview? Like, logically, if he knows that he did it and he was responsible, why would he even put himself like right in the path of the cameras? Super creepy, and also screw this guy. He's just like a terrible person.
One of the most defining moments in all of human history was World War I. That's because it led to World War II and then the modern world we have today. But everyone knows that the major event which kicked off World War I was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Okay, this is funny because I'm Serbian, and you know the whole thing about like people thinking that like the First World War happened because we assassinated this guy. If you don't know, it's a whole thing. A lot of things happened before this event that were already boiling up to a world war. Stop blaming us Serbs.
Of course, this took place while he was being driven in a limousine. This was a Graf and Stift limo. But there's a strange coincidence when it comes to this car. That is that it predicted an odd and very eerie message. The number plate of the car is A111118, and this could easily be read as Armistice, November 11, 1918. Of course, that was the date of the famous agreement that ended the First World War. The car sat for 2 decades inside a museum in Vienna before this was pointed out by a British tourist. This is an incredibly scary coincidence. And some say it's not a coincidence, and this is all part of some kind of giant plan. Things like this really do make me question and think maybe we are living in a simulation.
Oh my god, that is a really weird coincidence. It almost makes you think, what if there was like a time traveler and they left a sign basically showing how the war was gonna end? See, things like this always weird me out because like, how does that happen? It can't just be a coincidence, like it's too perfect.
Sometimes cops want to hunt for criminals, but they don't have a photo of them on file. That's why sometimes they'll get a sketch artist to draw the suspect from descriptions. One day, one of these suspects was being reported on the TV program Good Morning America. But towards the end of the show, Robin Roberts noticed something strange. She pointed out that the suspect from a previous story looked a lot like her host, Josh Elliott.
Who was there? Somebody that he? Yes, in our last story.
Not a chance.
Some say the reporter who originally reported on this story looks a lot like the suspect too. Look around and there's actually various instances of the news reporters reporting on suspects which look exactly like them.
Okay, so he didn't actually commit the crime, he just looked a lot like the sketch, which is a pretty crazy coincidence, but to be fair, these sketches often do look like a lot of people. Think about it, it's like from a person's general memory. It literally looks like your generic dude.
When it comes to presidents being assassinated, the United States does not have a good record, but the assassinations of both Lincoln and JFK have some pretty creepy coincidences. Did you know that Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who told him not to go to the theater? And Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln who told him not to go to Dallas. Lincoln was shot in the Ford Theater, and Kennedy was shot in a Lincoln made by Ford. They were both taken out on a Friday. Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes, was known by 3 names comprised of 15 letters. And Lee Harvey Oswald was also known by 3 names comprised of 15 letters.
I'm starting to think this is a little bit more than a coincidence, but I don't really know like what's going on. It's giving time travel.
John Wilkes shot Lincoln in a theater and fled to a warehouse. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse and fled to a theater. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846 and JFK in 1946. Lincoln was elected president in 1860 and JFK 1960. And that's not even all of the coincidences about these 2 presidents. Is this simply a coincidence, or has something been set up here?
Well, I feel like something's being set up. But then again, like what benefit would they get from doing that?
This one comes from a news report in Gwinnett County, Georgia, USA. A reporter's doing a pretty boring story about traffic in the area. That's when she stops and interviews a random passerby. The man seems totally normal and polite and simply talks about the local traffic and then walks off. But hours later, the news reporter gets a phone call from the police saying they need to talk to her urgently. That's because minutes before he was interviewed, the man in the footage had robbed a bank. A witness actually say they saw the man rob the bank and then afterwards stopped a news van for an interview. The police used this interview as well as surveillance footage of the guy's license plate to arrest him.
Again, I don't understand why right after robbing a bank you would stop for a television interview. Like you're literally putting your face out there for everyone to see after you just committed a crime. It's a very dumb move. Like I'm totally not surprised that he got caught.
This one comes from a YouTuber named Jennifer Moam. Sadly, she lost her dad. But to remember him, she looks up to the sky and says, "Hi Dad." This is a nice way to pay respects, but obviously it's a one-directional way of communicating. It's not like her dad can communicate back to her. Or can he? One day she looked up at the sky and said, "Hi Dad." That's when all of a sudden a glowing orb appears to come down from the sky. Jennifer's channel is mainly about her family, not about paranormal events. But I think this is a really special and heartwarming event if it really is a message from her father.
I just feel like that was a fly or like a bug or something, or like a little piece of dust that reflected the sunlight and it looked like that. I don't know, I feel like we're reaching a little bit, but I also like fully understand why. It's cute.
We all know that when you get arrested and have to go to the police station, you have to give over your fingerprints. But why exactly is this? Surely they can just write down your name and take your picture and they know who you are, right?
Absolutely not. Your fingerprint is like the most unique thing ever. If they have your fingerprint, it becomes very easy to identify and track you.
Well, the reason fingerprints became a thing is because of these two guys. These are mugshots of William West and William West. They're not related in any way, but they look incredibly similar. They also have the same name, and were serving their sentences at the same prison at the same time. This led to a massive amount of confusion with the prison guards. They kept getting mixed up, and for a long time, they didn't realize they were two separate people. So the prison had the idea to simply take their fingerprints so they could tell them apart. Otherwise, they could get confused and lost in the system, or their sentences, which were different, could be mixed up. These guys were incarcerated in the Leavenworth Penitentiary in Kansas, USA. And this happened all the way back in 1903, before fingerprint forensics even became a thing.
Okay, so this wasn't even like for forensics or anything like that. They literally just did it to keep track of the prisoners because they looked identical and had identical names. Again, that looks like a little bit more than just a coincidence. It's crazy to me that they weren't related. They literally look identical. And the fact that they ended up at the same prison, again, what are the actual chances of that happening? Unless it was meant to be and it wasn't a coincidence.
You likely think you know about everyone in your life. But what if those people have a dark secret? For example, a fake identity? That's what happened to someone in Texas named Rashawn Richardson. Rashawn was the top player in the Hillcrest High School basketball team. He helped his team beat every single other team in Dallas, Texas. He had a legendary reputation all around Texas and was a star student athlete.
Okay, so this guy was like killing it. He was the basketball player in town.
But then one day, people found out the reason why he was so much better at basketball than everyone else. Rashawn was playing against another team and was doing amazing as always. But that's when the other team's coach recognized Rashawn. It suddenly dawns on him that years ago, he coached Rashawn. This was 7 years ago, meaning Rashawn should no longer be in high school. He immediately went to the school and told them about what was happening. And it turned out Rashawn Richardson was not even a real person. Instead, he was a man named Sidney Gilstrap Portley. And instead of being a 17-year-old high school kid, he was 25 years old. To make things even more creepy, he had a 14-year-old girlfriend who had no idea of his true age and identity.
Oh my god, that is absolutely disgusting. This man is freaking weird. 14-year-old girlfriend? Are you absolutely insane? You're a grown man. And why would you even want to pretend to be a high school student? Like, why would you want to enroll in high school again? I could not wait to leave that place. And you're telling me you want to go back there? I do not get this man at all. Could not be me. Anyway, you guys, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.